Okay, welcome to another Zoom call. A lot of questions came in. Um, power. Okay, remember to go to the member site for everything new, anything changed, anything you need to know that I think you need to know at least. Remember, you can do coaching calls at any time if you want. Please submit that educational coaching call request form. And same thing with the cheek swab. If you're going to do a cheek swab, please submit that form online if you can. That does make it a little bit easier. And then remember, you have access to all the courses. And remember, I think the chronic disease and autoimmune course would be the most applicable because you already know everything about Stop Fighting Cancer course. All right. And remember, you have access to the blog. So look on the blog. There's over 900 blog posts that may answer your question too. So you don't have to wait. All right. I sent my labs in for you to take a look at. There was a message from late last week over the weekend. We were on vacation with our daughter's family and did a lot of walking. Yesterday morning, I woke up with a tender spot on the front of my hip bone. Today, not as sore, but it is a bit inflamed, larger than the other side. Felt great to walk and be active. So it is kind of strange that it's sore up there, almost like bumped or bruised it, but I didn't. Any thoughts?
I could have imagined, Craig.
So, just it depends on where it is. So if it's what you have to be careful of if you have metastasis to the bone is you have to be careful of weight-bearing exercise. If it's metastasized to a part of the bone that is a weight-bearing bone, and it's a particularly weak part of a bony structure, then you'd have to be careful. So that to describe if a person has metastasis to the neck of the femur. So you see the femur bone where they come up, because if you were sitting down right now and you put your hands on your knees, that thigh bone is your femur bone. It comes up and then angles inward as it attaches with the ball to what's called the acetabulum joint in your pelvis. Well, that little neck, where it takes that angle, is the weakest part of the bone. So when a person fractures their hip, they have a hip fracture as people age, it is actually because that neck of the femur fractured because it was weak because of osteoporosis, typically, and that hip fractured. Now, if this person who asked this question, if their pain is way up there, then that's a concern. If it's central femur area, that's not a concern, because typically, unless you have a great degree of metastasis to the central part of the femur bone, it's probably the strongest bone in your body. Not at the neck of the femur, but the central part of the shaft of the femur bone is the densest and strongest part of the body. If on the last PET scan, if it was a recent PET scan, and there was no metastasis to the femur, the neck of the femur whatsoever, or the pelvis, then I wouldn't be concerned. Now, you can have referred pain from bone. You can get deep bone pain, but you can also get referred pain to what's called the dermatome, which is the skin surrounding the area, and it will be a neurological referral. The acetabular area, the neck of the femur, is innervated by, I think, L3, maybe L3 or L2. That's your third or second lumbar. And the front of the thigh is innervated by L4. Certainly, if you had metastasis to the lumbar spine and walking, because you're doing this weight-bearing exercise and you're walking, if it was irritated, if you have if you have metastasis to L2, L3, or L4, it could refer pain along that dermatome. So you could have, it could be referred pain is what I'm saying. So yes, when you have cancer, we tend to think everything is related to the cancer. But, and that is not true, but it should be, though we don't want to be worrisome, it should be your first go-to that, is this referred pain from metastasis to the bone? And the only way to really rule that out is to look at a PET scan or a CT scan of the bone if that was done recently. An X-ray of the bone is much less invasive, but you're not going to see bony destruction until there's at least 50% bone destruction on an X-ray, where you'll see that much earlier on a CT scan and the earliest on a PET scan. Do you recommend finding a stool test that will tell you the bacterial composition in your gut so you can tweak your diet that way? Great Plains as well as Genova have a real good stool sample test. You can get that through our partner Rupa Labs you can see it on the member site. But no, I wouldn't really say that. I wouldn't really go off of my bacterial balance, meaning my flora, meaning my microbiota. I would not look at a stool sample test for microbiota and change my like probiotic to try to adjust that, or change my diet to try to adjust that, because your microbiota changes daily based upon what you eat. So I don't think it would be accurate long term. Now, if the caveat to that would be if you're having major stool problems, you're having diarrhea that you can't get rid of, you're dealing with, you suspect parasitic gut parasitic issues that you just can't keep in balance, then that's really what the stool test is for. Now, I know there's functional doctors that are pushing a stool test in order to look at your microbiota and give you a different probiotic and such. I just don't think that's very accurate, simply because your microbiota changes so quickly. If you went and stayed on a vacation and you were on a vacation for a week and you ate differently on that vacation, your gut microbiota changes. I mean, it literally changes daily. And that's a big reason why I think a lot of people would say if they go on a vacation, they can end up with a little constipation and stuff. But why is that? Because you're eating out, you're eating differently, your lifestyle is differently, and it changes because of that. My thyroid test results indicate poor T4 conversion, but my antibodies are okay. Any ideas? Could my intermittent fasting be driving T4 to reverse T3? Okay, so here's the tests. We'll get to this question here in a second. TSH is barely in range, meaning it's actually low. Free T4 is high in the range. Reverse T3 is out of range. So if you looked at the autoimmune course, and there's a whole section in the autoimmune course on thyroid. So make sure you go and spend a little bit of time on that. But your thyroid secretes thyroid hormone, mainly 90-some% is in T4. 5 to 10% is in the active form of T3. And then T4 is converted to T3 in the gut and in the liver. And this person is asking, why is my T4 getting converted to reverse T3? If your T4 gets converted to reverse T3, then that reverse T3 is inactive and it can never become active again. So it has become useless. That's called a conversion defect, or you have an under conversion. So T4 is converting to reverse T3 instead of active T3. And that's an issue, and that could be a problem. Well, that's a gut issue and a liver issue. Is the possibility, the question is, could my intermittent fasting be driving T4 to reverse T3? I don't know. I've never seen any literature on that. I have not seen any studies on that. I don't think they exist. So I'm not sure about that. Your TPO and thyroglobulin antibodies are normal. That's good. That means you don't have Hashimoto's. So that's great. But your free T3 is barely in range on the low side because you have that poor conversion. So what do you do about this? This may be the same person that asked this question about the gut. Now, this may be a reason to do a gut test because you could have parasites that could be causing that. It's a possibility that H. pylori could cause that. That's just my suspect. And if that's the case, a gut parasite test won't test for H. pylori. But you could rule out parasites by doing a gut test. Copper is out of range low at 78, and it goes to what does low copper indicate to you? Well, if you didn't have cancer, you'd maybe want to supplement a little bit of copper, but somebody that has cancer, you'd like to keep a low copper level. So with a cancer diagnosis, I'd say you just keep a low copper level. That's a good thing. But with the rest of this question, you may want to investigate if you have parasites that's causing that conversion issue. Personally, I would just start taking some berberine because that will help kill any H. pylori. That can help kill some parasites. I would spend my money on just taking a few supplements, maybe buy a bottle of our Paraclear or something like that, or just get some berberine and use some berberine to help kill H. pylori. And then maybe retest this. I'm sure you're planning on retesting anytime. Is that one cancer marker P test that I was doing back again? So I think this person is talking about the test that you send to the Philippines. And I don't know. Maybe somebody could chime in. I don't know if that is back online again, if we could do that again. I know as I think the last time anybody chimed in on that was about 3-4 months ago. So I'm not sure. Whoever asked this question can certainly reach out to them via email, whether that's available again. I would like to do the 21-day fast again, but under your guidance. Since doing it last time, I've gained 40 pounds and it's been awful. I want to be under guidance to know if it's a good thing for my body right now, or if sometimes it isn't good. Taxed adrenals, hormones, thyroid. I want to fast track my healing. It felt a lot happened and shrunk when I did, but afterwards I crashed as my body went into bear syndrome. Again, I talked about this a lot. I'm not in favor of doing a long fast with cancer. It does increase IGF-1 levels, which can increase cancer growth. Now, I know that there's probably people on here that have, did a 10-day fast or 5-day fast or whatever, and they did just fine with it. So if you feel led to do that, then by all means do that. I can't really be your guide. You need a local guide to help you with that. That's measuring your weight and getting regular blood tests. You should get a glucometer to make sure you don't go into hypo glucose situation. And you do need guidance, but really at a distance, it's hard to guide you. So you'd really want a local practitioner to guide you on that. And it's not something I would recommend, so I wouldn't really feel comfortable guiding you on that. Yesterday, I learned that the chemo was supposed to start tomorrow. The carboplatin is unavailable due to a nationwide shortage. Instead, they're switching me to something called Doxil. Would a switch in chemo like this also require an adjustment in the supplements? No, I'd say no. I wouldn't do that. Question popped in there. If I test IGF-1, what is a good test? What is a good result for cancer patients? So IGF-1 has a range. So you can follow the range that the lab gives you. I can't remember it. It's 100 to 270 or something like that. I have had neck cancer with tumors and symptoms all on my left side. It's not really a question. So if you want to reformulate that question. I was having incredible bone pain in my shins, similar to pain I had during chemo. I went off the Lamidine. Lamidine is a supplement for 2 days and the pain stopped. So does this mean it was a Herxheimer reaction and is not concerning and should therefore resume the supplement? I would not say that shin pain is a Herxheimer reaction. Just, I mean, maybe somebody would say that. I'd say, show me the metabolic pathway. I mean, I'm trying to figure out in my mind, reading this question, what the metabolic pathway would be. Now, I'm not, I've stated before, I'm not a giant fan of just taking Lamidine if it doesn't test well for you, but trying to think of the pathway. Certainly, I can't imagine a pathway that, so by definition, a Herxheimer reaction is when you are killing off things in your body. So you're producing what's called an endotoxin. Most commonly seen when you're killing off gram-negative bacteria, because gram-negative bacteria in the cell membrane have lipopolysaccharides, which are large and stimulate an immune response, are difficult for your liver phase 1 and phase 2 pathways to get rid of. They circulate a lot and you can get sick, you can feel ill, you can feel fatigue, you can feel like flu-ish. That's because you're producing a lot of endotoxins. I can't for the life of me, maybe it'll come to me, but I can't for the life of me, top of my head, think that pain in the shin would have anything to do with that whatsoever. The shins are innervated by the fourth lumbar nerve. Gosh, I can't. I don't know. I would say that if it was me, I'd probably stay off of it. Would buying the bigger Rife bulb, like the double bubble, QX2 double bubble, increase the likelihood that will help get rid of the cancer? No, I would not say that. The double bubble, it really is only really stronger than the hammer tube if you put the double bubble right on you. If the double bubble is made to sit away from you, like you're working in the kitchen or something like that, then you might be getting. But now with the jackhammer, you don't need any other bulb. I mean, if you wanted to work in the kitchen and have your bulb on and you're walking 5 feet away from it, then you walk up next to it, and then you walk 3 feet away and you're doing something like that, just get the hammer, the jackhammer connection. There really isn't any reason to buy the QX2 double bubble at all anymore. Can you address fasting before chemo? What is the benefit? I have a friend with breast cancer who does a 500 calorie a day diet the day before chemo, on chemo day, and the day after. Is this a good approach? So yes, that is a very good approach. I talked about that in my blog post on chemo protocol. So that's what I'd recommend. Everybody do fast. Do a 24-hour fast the day before you do the chemo, and I think you could just start eating right after the chemo. So the chemo, the idea of it, if you think of it like a cartoon, the chemo, cancer is very metabolically active. So like a cartoon, it's very hungry. So it's like gobbling up things, just devouring everything. But if you like starve it the day before the chemo, it's going to be really hungry. You can think of it that way. It's going to be super hungry. And then you pump chemo into your system, it could gobble up the chemo. Now, the studies that are out there were done by, I think, oncologist, female oncologist. I heard her speak once and met her at a seminar a few years back. I think out of the University of Southern California School of Medicine. And she did this with, she actually had a patient that fasted before chemo and decreased her symptoms of chemo by about 50%. So she started doing this with her patients, having them fast before chemo, and she saw a 50% decrease in symptoms. Now I don't know if you can really measure if the chemo worked better, because your control group, I mean, everybody's so different with chemo, you can't, really measure it that well. But there are some studies out there, and you could Google some studies on fasting before chemo. So we always suggest a 24-hour fast before chemo. Often when I try to start a new program on my right, it will say that I must stop the program it's currently running before beginning another one. However, there will be nothing to show that the program is actually running. The bulb is dark, no words or timer running below, etc. And nothing happens when I push stop. The only override I found is that to totally shut down both the right and laptop and start it over each time. Okay, so remember, when you do to the right, I highly suggest you look at the member site, the Rife page on the member site, and go through the Rife course. Because the use of the Rife is the way I suggest you use the Rife. You hit run on your program and you close your computer. That will most likely be the fix, because you're getting feedback. So these Rife is putting out these frequencies. Well, these frequencies, aren't good for the program itself. Once you hit run on the right, it sends the program. Once you hit run on the computer, it sends the program right to the Rife machine. You literally can turn off the computer, you can unplug it, you can throw the computer out the window. The program isn't going to run till it's done. So the program has been sent to your F122 Rife machine. So you don't need the computer anymore. So close the computer. Therefore, you won't be getting the feedback because the computer will go to sleep. Or turn the computer off so the computer is completely shut off. So that will typically be the fix to this. And when you get this, like the error message, the USB error message is another one you get. It's because you're getting feedback to the machine. It's just wonking with the computer. When my genetic testing comes back, will I receive results via email? Yes. Is there a clarifying coaching call that goes with it? No, but you can schedule one. So you can schedule to talk to me anytime you want. There's just a fee to that. So that's why we do these Zoom calls, so you don't have to do that. And you also have access to the Read Your Genes course. So with the genetic, when the genetics come back, you're going to get the full report, which is like 250 pages. And it's like drinking from a fire hose. Most people aren't going to look at that. So I actually put together a genetic summary report. So you'll also get this genetic summary with just the genes highlighted that you really, I think, are a concern. So most people just look at that. And then you also get, the full genetic report's about 250 pages. The genetic summary report's about 17, 18 pages. Then I also give you a genetic action step report, which is like 3 pages. So just some dietary things to change, and then some supplement things that I want to change. I just did one today for somebody that I didn't make any supplement changes. So, but usually there might be 1 or 2 things that we might add or change on your supplements based upon your genetics. Because I've been on so many supplements, you requested that I let you know as I run out, so you can advise me on whether to quit or to continue. If you want, how would you like to share that? Send it to info@connorsclinic.com, or you can send it to labs@connorsclinic.com. Curious, why does immunotherapy have side effects if it's just supposed to boost your immune system? Because that's not what immunotherapy does. It's kind of misleading. So immunotherapy is a drug. So I've done one, Keytruda, IVs. Can it keep you awake? Can it keep you awake? I don't know about that. Every drug has side effects. So immunotherapy, what immunotherapy does, when we talk about immunotherapy, we're talking about the medical definition of immunotherapy, which is a drug. So one of the reasons why your body doesn't kill every cancer cell is that your cancer cells are your own cells, and your own cells will have a little receptor on it that attaches to a killer cell, a killer T cell, to tell the killer T cell that, hey, I'm self tissue, don't kill me. And that's the way your body keeps your immune system from killing all your cells. Because if you didn't have that, then your immune system would just be, you'd be dead because you'd kill yourself. Your immune system would kill you. So somebody got the bright idea is, hey, if we could create a drug that would actually block that receptor so it would fool your killer T cells, and your killer T cells will kill self tissue, then it will kill, the cancer. Well, makes sense to me. Well, the problem is it's not specific to the cancer. So it's not going to just attach to the receptors on the cancer cells. It's going to attach to all the receptors. So you are definitely going to get side effects from immunotherapy. The number one side effect of immunotherapy is an autoimmune disease, because you're killing self tissue, and you can actually create antibodies to that self tissue. Now, understand, you won't always create antibodies to that self tissue. So the kind of, you could end up with kind of a temporary autoimmune disease. So you should have been told by your oncologist that if you're going to do immunotherapy, you can get anything, any disease disorder that ends in an itis. So like colitis, that's inflammation of the colon. So, you could get myocarditis, that's inflammation of the heart. You could get anything that's causing inflammation of the body because you're getting destruction of self tissue, hopefully to the cancer, but you can get it anywhere. So this is a drug, and it also has other side effects. So you can Google the side effects of Keytruda, and you'll see that maybe keeping you awake is one of them. I don't know. So I'm still on a feeding tube. Is there anything that can help with the inflammation and tightness in my throat so I can more quickly recover from swallowing? I'm working with a therapist, speech pathologist too. Well, anything nutritionally that will decrease inflammation is really your best bet, which we've described multiple times. All the flavonoids, the curcumin, the resveratrol, the green tea extract, the boswellia, the white willow bark, the stinging nettles, the quercetin. Those are things that will decrease inflammation anywhere in the brain, in the body, any type of inflammation you have. That's probably your first go-to from a nutritional standpoint. Looks like I'm going to be having a PET scan in the next week or two. Are there things I should be doing, taking to protect myself before, during, after? Well, PET scan does include radiation, so maybe the radiation homeopath would be in order. You can find that on our store. It's a homeopath that we make, and just follow the instructions on that bottle. Now, whether you're going to do CT scans or PET scans or radiation therapy, using that radiation homeopath, just go through the whole bottle of it. Whether you just did a PET scan and the whole bottle, it lasts about 4 months, maybe 5 months, I don't know. There's a lot of drops in a little dropper bottle, and you're only taking like 6 drops a day, so it should last you a while. If you did radiation therapy, you should probably go through a couple bottles of it, and nothing is going to pull out radiation from radiation therapy. It's just going to be during any tests and the ensuing radiation and chemo, is there any danger for me to be around others? We have a brand new grandchild and very elderly parents. Now, this is a good question. I don't think anybody's asked this question before. Now, if you ask your oncologist this question, they probably say, no, absolutely not, you're fine. But the truth is if you're doing radiation, is there radioactivity that could shed? If you're doing chemo IVs, is there chemotherapy? Is that something that drug could that be shedding? Now, again, if you asked anybody in the medical field, they'd say, no, that's nonsense, but we're smarter than that. The truth is, yes, that probably could take place. Now, the shedding of a chemical from chemo probably have, some sort, it's going to have some sort of half-life. And chemo really does its work within 48 hours and it dissipates fairly quickly after that, especially if you're working on trying to detox it. If you're exchanging bodily fluids, that's going to be even worse. So I'd be careful on how, if you have a new grandchild, I'd be careful how close you get to the new grandchild or the elderly parent, and making sure that you're not exchanging any bodily fluid like kissing and having saliva exchange. Yeah, there's risk in that. We saw that with this last vaccine with the mRNA shedding. That's a real thing. And don't anybody tell you that it's not, because that can happen. So I would be careful. Yes, I would be careful. I can't, I don't know. You can look at the studies. I know there's some studies on shedding with the mRNA vaccine that you could dig up. But I don't know if there's any studies. There may be some studies on radiation. I don't think there's any studies on chemo. But yeah, that is a real thing. Where on the website are the instructions for the Easy Peasy Coffee enema? Oh, well, let's look right now. All right. Sorry. So it's on the detoxification details page. So on the member site, it's not on the website. So go to the member site. It's on the detoxification details site. It's in also several of the courses. It's definitely in the 7 Phases of Detox course, multiple pages. But on the member site, it's on the page that says detoxification details. And where is the information about the autoimmune Cyrex panel? So Cyrex is spelled with a C. Cyrex panel, and it's called Array 10. There's tons of information about that on the autoimmune course. There's really not a lot of information on that, if any, on the members site. But on the autoimmune course, there's a ton of information on that, and you can get that if you click on the member site. You click on the labs and go to our lab portal with Rupa Health, then you can order that Array 10 panel. So if you want information, I've actually created numerous videos on why you test for foods and everything on the autoimmune course. One of your teachings articles, you say that radiation will shrink tumors, but doesn't actually kill cancer since it doesn't kill the stem cells. So let's clarify that. Well, it will kill cancer. So the only way you can shrink a tumor is by killing the cancer. Is it going to ultimately solve the person's problem if that's the only thing that they did? No, nor will chemo, because chemo and radiation don't kill cancer stem cells. Well, radiation would kill cancer stem cells if they're right at the area that you're radiating, because it'll kill everything. But cancer stem cells are all over your body and trying to set up home and raise a family. So you have to be doing other things too, which you are. Which even a lot of people that, aren't even quote unquote doing alternative things are. Their body is trying to kill cancer stem cells. So, but you can't expect radiation and chemo to kill cancer stem cells. And if anybody said that they're for the purpose of killing cancer stem cells, they're lying to you, because it's just not true. It doesn't. So you have to do other things to kill the stem cells. I was told recently by an oncologist, though, that radiation does completely kill stem cells and so is active curatively. Well, yeah, if you hit the whatever cells you hit with radiation, they'll kill them, whether they're your normal healthy cells, whether they're cancer cells, or whether they're cancer stem cells or other stem cells in your body. It'll kill anything that you're pointing it to. But you're not doing whole body radiation. If you were going to try to kill all the stem cells in your body with radiation, you would die. I mean, you can't. It's impossible without killing the patient. So for an oncologist to say that, that's really very, very incorrect information. Now, I get he's just trying to say, oh, this is going to cure you. But still, that's not honest either. I just don't get why these guys can say anything they darn well please and nobody can call them out on it. I've been getting red welts on my legs, torso, hips, and arms since mid-January. They can be weirdly straight lines and often look like dog scratches or red contrails. There is no pain and little itching, and they come and go without warning, stayed only a few hours, I think. I can find no cause and effect for what I eat, take, or do. Is this a sign of detoxing? Well, it can actually be a sign of Lyme disease. So, and other tick-borne illnesses. So I don't know who it was that asked this question, but it might be a good idea to do a Lyme test that's on the Aruba lab, on our lab thing. I know it's like $450, but it might be in your best interest to do that. I purchased the homeopathic liquid for PET scans. That's the radiation homeopath. It says you 3 drops twice a day. Tomorrow at 7 a.m. I have a PET scan I continue this homeopath tomorrow also? Yeah. So I guess I already answered this question. You finish the bottle. So just go through, just keep taking it every day until it's done. The Produvo could not tell me anything any more than the regular MRI I had after talking with their radiologist, so had no chance but to do the PET scan. Okay. With the coffee enemas, I do this about 10:30, 11 a.m. daily. I take my supplements and smoothie about 8 a.m. When I do these coffee enemas at 10:30, does this delete all my supplements? No. Oh, you're fine at that time. IGF-1 was 103 in a range of 60 to 207. So it's okay as long as it's not high in other range. Yes. I know we need IGF-1 or maybe ideally drive it lower, right? Though I wouldn't say you're driving it lower. You just don't want to do things that spike it. So I don't think the purpose is to lower your IGF-1. The purpose is to don't do things that will spike IGF-1. You don't go and take growth hormone pills. You don't go and do things that will stimulate IGF-1, which are a lot of things in the exercise, in the anti-aging field, are things to help stimulate IGF-1, stimulate growth hormone. Because if you have growth hormone, you're going to produce more cells. You're going to be able to recover from a workout easier. You're going to be able to do more workouts, and you'll have the health benefits of that. Well, we don't want to do that when you have cancer. So I have been sleeping with the Rife for only about 2.5 weeks. When I added the foot bath and the day frequencies, I started feeling overwhelmed with blurry eyes, brain fog, headache, etc. Plus, the tumors in my right breast seem to be getting larger. Does it make sense that I would feel worse before I feel better? No, it doesn't. I've never ever had anybody say that they have blurry eyes and brain fog and headache after doing the right. I wonder if something else is going on. Hmm. No, that doesn't make sense. Now, a person could feel worse before they get better in different ways, but not with blurry eyes, not with these symptoms we're talking about. We may want to chat. That seems odd. I've had head and neck cancer with tumors and symptoms all on my left side since January. My parotid gland gives sharp pain when I begin to eat, but then it goes away. The last few days, it continues to fire while I eat, and it won't go away. The pain is intense. Do you have any ideas on anything that would help this? Honestly, if I were you, I'd run the day programs with the bulb right up by my face. If I were you, that's what I would be doing. Definitely drinking lots of water. That will help flush out your glands better than anything. Supporting your detox pathways as best you can, doing more coffee enemas if you have to, doing castor oil packs or just heat packs over your liver would be helpful. Those are the things that I would be concentrating on. When I lie down and my head is on the pillow, I feel lightheaded and feel like I am moving. Can this be iron or red blood cell deficiency? It certainly can be anemia. So getting a CBC would be in order just to test for that. That'd be number one. Number two would be blood sugar issues. So if you just have a glucometer at home, make sure you're testing your blood glucose levels to make sure you don't have hypoglycemia. Those would be the two biggies that I would look for. So get that going and let's see what's going on with that. The other thing you can happen is you got, you have, if it's truly dizzy and you feel like you're spinning, you can have a issue with your inner canals in your ear. That could be an issue too, but it doesn't sound like you're spinning. But doing regular fast walking, some running, light weights, lunges, push-ups, just to get my lymph going. That won't increase my IGF too much, right? So no exercise itself isn't really going to increase your IGF. I'm talking about people taking like these exercise supplements. That's what you don't want to be doing. Even nitric oxide supplements, you shouldn't be taking those. Okay? Nobody is on them unless you're taking them without asking me. But because if you were taking them, I took you off of them. That will stimulate VEGF production, will stimulate IGF-1, and then fasting over 24 hours long will stimulate IGF-1 too. Can you explain why soy is good or bad for breast cancer? So soy and soy isoflavonoids, flavones, are estrogenic. That's why they're bad. So even if it's organic soy, the only difference is if it's fermented soy. So fermented soy is totally different. That's what Hyland is. So Hyland is a fermented soy supplement that acts completely different than soy. So if it's fermented, it actually can dislodge bad estrogens from estrogen beta receptors. If it's not fermented, then it can actually block estrogen beta receptors, and estrogen beta receptors are apoptotic receptors on the cell membranes of cancer cells, on all cells, but definitely on cancer cells that get blocked. So soy is, I would say soy shouldn't be used by anybody, period. Whether you have cancer or not, soy is not a good thing to be eating. Matter of fact, the vast majority of soy grown in the United States and that can be purchased in the United States is all GMO. So it's another reason why not to be using soy. But even organic non-GMO soy is going to be estrogenic. And we do not need any more xenoestrogens in our body. We're having all sorts of estrogenic issues because of that. So that should be a no-no to everybody, male or female, whether you have cancer or not, should not be consuming a lot of soy. I didn't even think of the homeopathic drops while Tony was doing radiation. It's been a month since he finished it. Would it still help? No, absolutely. So you still have radiation in your body. The more you can get out of there, the better off it'll be. On my genetic test, you stated to avoid kale. I have the greens that has fermented kale in combo with other greens. Would this be okay to take if it's being fermented? Yeah, when you want to, the reason why you want to avoid kale as a cancer patient, it goes back to this IGF-1 question, because kale is a great product because it stimulates nitric oxide synthase. So nitric oxide synthase is fantastic for your cardiovascular system, helping you grow new vessels, helping for your heart. So you want that. You don't have cancer. So kale is a great thing to eat. It's got more nitric oxide in it than any other plant product, any other food product. It's got 3 to 4 times more nitric oxide than spinach, which is the next highest. But nitric oxide synthase increases VEGF, which is vascular endothelial growth factor, which increases vascularization of tumors. So we don't want to stimulate that too much. However, you need nitric oxide in your body, so don't get me wrong. But you just don't want to be doing kale shakes and stuff. So if your greens has a lot of kale in it, then maybe you want to switch to something else. Certainly, if you had a little kale in your salad or something because it was in your salad mix, that's just fine. If you're making, you're purposely buying kale at the grocery store and juicing it or putting it in your shakes and stuff, that's a wrong thing to do if you have cancer, in my opinion. At the autoimmune course page on the website, when I click on access to the course, it takes me to the detox course. Please check it. Okay, Dustin, I'm going to copy that and send that to Dustin. No, so I will put that forward to Dustin, and we'll get on that and figure out why is that doing that. Any other questions while I do that? Oh, what do you suggest to keep the lymph moving? So lymph moving, the lymph moves by action of the muscles, so you have to be contracting your muscles. So your lymph system does not have a heart, uses the muscle as its component to squeeze the vessels and squeezes the fluid up through the capillaries, the lymph vessels, And then there's a check valve every about 3-4 inches, the lymph system. And so it can't go backwards. So once you contract your muscles, it squirts it up through the system, through the lymph vessel, and then it can't go backwards. So that's every time you contract, you're moving lymph through the vessels. How you help to move fluid out of the extracellular spaces into the lymph system is action and movement. So just like the person's comment back here that they're doing different exercises, trying to be very low impact type exercises. That's the thing to do. You could do very light weights, get some 5-pound weights or 2-pound weights and do something like that. That's the right thing to do. So Ellen, who asked the question about the autoimmune course page on the website. So that's where you clicked on it. Dustin was asking me. So he'll check that link. Like coffee is the one thing I look forward to in the AM and allows me to handle intermittent fasting. How much is too much? Well, if you don't have those defects on the coffee genes, I mean, technically you can drink 3-4 cups of coffee a day. Now, if you want to be really pure with intermittent fasting, you can drink coffee and it still be considered a fast as long as you don't put anything in it. So if it's black coffee, technically, even the purists with intermittent fasting, that's still approved. I think you could have several cups of coffee a day. I don't think that's a problem. Is the difference between stem cells and tumor cells? Well, it's a matter of semantics. Stem cells have yet to become tumor cells. So if they're cancer stem cells, they're stem cells from a cancer that have yet to become a tumor. Now, by definition, we've talked about this a lot. The tumor is an old term for a lesion, something that's growing in your body. Now we don't use the word tumor as much without using an adjective, like it's a benign tumor or it's a metastatic tumor, or if that means it's coming from a cancerous tumor. Or if it's benign, it means just a growth of cells, but it's not something that's overtaking other things, and it's not something that will ever, kill a person. It's a matter of semantics. Have you heard about Restore, a product created by Evan Elliott to treat the mitochondria? I'd have to look that up. I think I looked it up. I think this is something you were taking. I did look that up. I can't remember exactly everything that was in it. That you're asking if there's something in it that problem. I'd have to re-look that up. Okay. Okay. This is Ultra Mito. Is that what it is? Restore ingredients: olive oil, black seed oil, olive leaf, extensive turmeric, annex, cordyceps, spirulina, ibuprofen. Holy lot of stuff in there. Goodness sakes. I don't see anything in there that raises a flag. No. The only thing that I would say is when you get a product that has that many ingredients, you're not getting very much of anything. So unless you're drinking the whole bottle, I mean, when you have something that's, you're not getting, you can only get so much of these things in a teaspoon. So I mean, you're not getting a lot of everything, but that's okay. If lymph has been stagnant for a while, 5 months, and then starts moving again, is there anything that should be done to support the body as the lymph starts to flow? I have been feeling pretty yucky lately. Well, you got to be supporting the detox pathway. So you got to go back to the 7 phases of detox. You got to make sure that you're eliminating well, that you're binding in your gut, that your gallbladder is not sluggish. That's the biggest thing that you need to be concerned about. If you're detoxing, you could end up with gallstones. You want to support your gallbladder. Go back and look at the 7 phase of detox course if you want to get full detail about it. But using hot packs and castor oil packs over your liver gallbladder would be really helpful. This is where coffee enemas are extremely helpful for somebody who's feeling really yucky because they're detoxing. To get, everybody wants to get the lymph fluid. We want to get the stuff out of the tissues, but you got to make sure that once you get it out of the tissues, it's going to go back into the blood, and you got to make sure that it can get through the liver detox pathways and get through the gallbladder and get into the colon and get into the toilet. So the 7 phases of detox are really important. So do take a little bit of time and review that. I was just making sure coffee wasn't too estrogenic for me to have several cups. I put organic stevia in it. No, I don't see any problem with that. Do fermented dairy products, including raw and organic, still have HGC and should be avoided? That is true. Yes, you should still be avoided. So just because you have a fermented dairy like a kefir does not mean it still doesn't have growth hormones in it. So yes, it should be avoided. Now, if you're like, oh man, I really love my yogurt, you can buy coconut milk yogurt and almond milk yogurt. You're fine with that. Do we have to use homeopathic drugs for MRI too? We don't have to do anything, but we do have homeopathic drops for MRI, but they're for gadolinium, not for radiation. You don't have any radiation in MRI, but you're using MRI with a contrast, you're getting gadolinium, which can build up in your system. And even one MRI, if you have a gadolinium sensitivity, could be a major problem for some people. But if you do multiple MRIs, you end up with the buildup of gadolinium, and that could be a problem too. So that's why we have the homeopathic droplet for the MRI, and that's why it's different for the MRI versus radiation, PET scan, CT scan, X-ray. Totally different. So you can't take both if you're getting both. I have daily access to a Beamer machine. Would this be helpful to incorporate? If so, what rate, how long, and how often? So yeah, Beamer is a low Gauss PEMF. But still, low Gauss is better than no Gauss. So absolutely, I would use it daily. And you'd have to refer to their manual. I'm not super familiar with the recommendations. I know they recommend like 30 minutes or something, pretty short term for, and it's just fine if you don't have any disease process. But I mean, typically when we'd have people in the office, we'd use a high Gauss PEMF, and we do an hour a day at least. And so doing, which is equivalent to probably doing 2 weeks worth of the Beamer, but still, I'd still use the Beamer. If you have access to it, I'd use it. Doing it, for as long as you can, really, without so interrupting your life. But I would do it if I had it for sure. All right, I think we'll call it a night. Thank you guys for participating. I will say, please, if you could get your questions in a little earlier. I was scrambling to get all the questions on the Zoom keynote today. I missed yours, so I'll have to ask it again. So the earlier you can get your questions in, I know your life is super busy too, but that would be helpful to me because I have to actually copy and paste them. And usually, like you notice, I don't get to read them before the Zoom call. Thank you all for participating. Know that I'm praying for all of you guys. And if you do have questions that you feel you want personal answers to, you can always schedule a time with me. All right, love you all. Bye-bye.